Off-the-plan buyers who signed contracts at the height of the boom are beginning to feel an uncomfortable squeeze. More than 100,000 units are in the pipeline over the next 2 years, and 60% of these were sold off the plan. But with prices sliding south, some buyers are facing legal action from developers and possible bankruptcy as they struggle to get the finance to pay for their off-the-plan purchase. Here's Rachel Pupazzoni.
After 6 years of runaway prices, the housing market has slammed into reverse. Parts of Sydney have tumbled up to 9%, while Melbourne's inner east is off by 6%. While that's good news for people wanting to get into the market, it's not for those who bought an apartment off the plan in the last couple of years.
To someone who it's their biggest investment or their biggest life purchase, to have someone on the other end of the phone saying, oh, there's a problem that doesn't stack up with an valuation, you can imagine what runs through their mind, and it's quite stressful.
Confirming 303 sold!
After signing on the dotted line, some buyers are finding lenders are now valuing their off-the-plan property at a significantly lower amount. That makes it tricky to secure enough funding to finalise the deal. Mortgage broker Luke Camilleri says he's made several phone calls to clients who are in that dilemma.
The most recent one that comes to mind, they had bought in Western Sydney, and about 3 or 4 years ago, and the valuation came in quite low.
The bank valued the property below the $680,000 the buyers agreed to pay for it. It meant they needed to find an extra $54,000 on top of their deposit and stamp duty. In the end, Mr Camilleri says the buyers had to get creative to find the extra cash.
We've got a bathroom.
Buyers advocate and author Miriam Sandcooler says committing to off the plan should always be approached with caution.
You can more or less be guaranteed that approximately 50% of the time, the properties may come in under the contract price.
Being unable to settle can create huge problems for buyers. In a worst-case scenario, a developer will sue.
Then they want to, again, see if they can negotiate for the developer to release them, and they'll have to usually forego their deposit for that. Or they need to scramble and find some funds to cover any shortfall, or try and on-sell it to somebody else. Or simply go through that default process and unfortunately wait for legal action to be taken against them.
Conveyancer Alex Sapunas says he's in damage control with many clients.
This year especially, a number of people coming to us with concerns where they initially signed 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're wanting us to sit down with them and go over what rights they have and how do they deal with a situation where they may not be able to settle the property.
He says it's not just falling property prices that are impacting off-the-plan buyers.
2 or 3 years ago, when they went and saw their mortgage broker or their banker, they would have said to them, based on your current scenario, this is how much we're going to lend you. And their actual scenario hasn't changed, but the actual lending criteria has changed.
This is what it will look like. So
that's left some buyers scrambling to find a lender that will take another look at their books.
That's looking onto Emerald Road, which goes that way.
Investor Stephen Kendon has just settled on an apartment he bought in Sydney's inner west 2 years ago. His existing lender gave in-principle funding approval in May this year, but 2 months later rejected his formal application.
We had some abnormal expenses, and they were looking at that as if they were standard expenses, but they weren't.
Mr Kendon already had 2 mortgages with the lender.
Which made it even more surprising that we've got a suite of loans, if you want to call it that. We've got a good history of repaying our loans. We can demonstrate that we can pay the minimum or above on our loans.
In the end, Mr Kendon was able to secure a loan with another provider. But his experience shows the banks are upping their scrutiny, and securing finance might not be so easy for everyone.
It's going to definitely get worse. I think a lot of people that have bought off the plan are going to hurt. Yeah.